That scary sound from the back of your car may not mean there is an expensive repair involved. It could be as simple as a rusty rear rotor. Behind each wheel on a Honda Element is a disc brake rotor. There is a floating caliper on a fixed bracket and 2 brake pads to grip the rotor. The disc rotors and their metal backing shield are made of a relatively soft iron, and that means they get rusty. Rust builds up both on the face of the rotor where it contacts the brake pads and around the perimeter where it can rub on the sheet metal backing. Excessive rust in either of these areas is the source of a very disturbing sound. So let's grab the 3 G's: gloves, glasses, and grungy clothes, and inspect the rear rotor. This is a brake-related job, so I recommend a dust mask as well. Brake dust is easy to inhale, and it is very bad for you. Pre-loosen the lug nuts on the ground. Raise the rear of the Element with your jack, and insert your jack stands. When you remove the wheel, slide it under the rocker panel as an extra safety support. And here's the problem revealed as plain as day. The brake pads have worn unevenly, leaving a thick ridge of rust to form on the outer face of the brake rotor. Okay, now it's time for some choices. You can make an appointment with your mechanic or the Honda dealer, telling them you will need rear brake pads and rotors. This is the easiest, though perhaps the most expensive option. If you are mechanically inclined, have done brake replacements before, have the time, the tools, and the inclination, it is possible to replace the rotor and pads yourself. There are several very high-quality YouTube videos to guide you through the process, and rather than rehash those, I'd rather just give a general background view that some of them don't go into. Before doing any brake work, always rubber band your car keys to the brake pedal. Brake pads have a friction material that wears down over time, but the disc rotor wears down also. Once the rotor gets too thin, it must be replaced. You can use an inexpensive digital caliper to check this. Many new rotors have the minimum thickness stamped on the perimeter edge. For this one, 7.5 millimeters is the least thickness permitted. Brand new, the rotor is about 9 millimeters thick. Now they call this design a floating caliper because it slides freely on these pins and has only one piston on one side. The slide pin lubricant is sealed behind these flexible rubber boots, so you must inspect them as well. If they are torn or missing, the bracket with the pins must be replaced. Here is an inner brake pad. Notice the small metal strip that is intended to come in contact with the rotor when the friction material is worn to the level that needs replacing. After the caliper and mounting bracket are removed, the rotor comes next. The disc rotor itself is held to the hub by 2 set screws. They fit into these beveled holes on the face of the rotor. You will need an impact screwdriver and a large hammer to remove these. And anytime you are hammering on anything, please wear your safety glasses. If you have an electric rotary tool, use a small grinding stone to clean up the center hub area. It makes installing the new rotor easy, and it makes future removal much easier. For instance, if you're going to replace the parking brake shoes. Use a wire brush to clean rust off the face of the hub flange and the caliper mounting bracket. Before installing the new rotor, use a spray brake cleaner to wipe off the thin protective coating applied for shipping. Be sure to do both sides of the rotor and the interior drum surface used by the parking brake. When reinstalling the set screws, use an anti-seize grease on the threads. When reattaching the bracket and caliper bolts, I like to use some blue thread locker on them. I definitely do not want these bolts to come loose. Start affixing the lug nuts first by hand, then snug them down, and finally tighten them fully when the car is lowered and the wheels are on the ground. Before you drive off, retrieve your keys from the brake pedal as a reminder to pump up the brakes before you start the car. This will take up the gap created when you retracted the piston into the caliper when fitting the new brake pads. Good luck, and thank you for watching. Be sure to watch our other car-related videos. This program was made possible by
subscribers like you. Thank you.